Hey, good morning, everyone. It's Sebastian. Can anybody hear me on the phone?
Yes.
Hi, Sebastian. I can hear you.
Okay. Hey, Shayla, how you doing?
Good.
I can hear you. This is Tom.
All right. Okay. All right.
This
And
this
Andrew, are
is
you on the?
Biden. This is
All right,
Bud Sebastian. Can you hear me?
Hey, yep, I can hear you.
Okay.
Everybody hang tight. I'm going to have Robin reach out to Andrew Bowers. He may have received the wrong call and information. So I'll be right back, and hopefully he calls in here soon.
Okay.
The other day.
Hey there, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
All right, excellent.
Hey, do we have Andrew on the call yet?
Yep, I'm here.
Oh, hey, Andrew. All right. Sorry about any difficulties you were having there. Not sure what's going on our end.
No, I think it was me. I think my audio pin, I didn't have my audio pin in there, so you guys couldn't hear me.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, we're already like 5 or 6 minutes a little late, so I'll let you go ahead and get started.
Okay, excellent. Well, good morning, everyone. Thanks for having me on your call here. I know that some of the stuff that I was going to talk about this morning is kind of a review of some of the stuff I talked about when I was out at the conference in Pennsylvania, but some of these things have come up again. So I know the most recent compliance alerts is what I'll go through initially, and then I'll give kind of an overview of our share class conversion project and where that's at. So the most recent compliance alerts, some of that has revolved around pay to play and contribution limits. Again, we're kind of hitting that again because this is such a more politically active environment that we're in now. A lot of advisors are getting more involved, and so we wanted to make, and we're getting a lot more questions, I guess, than what we have in previous years. So there's a compliance alert that went out with some FAQs. I'll cover some of that really high level, and then you can go out and look at those alerts if you have specific questions. But we wanted to remind people that you can't, advisors cannot solicit or coordinate campaign contributions. So, facilitating that yourself on behalf of a candidate. And then you have limits that apply to your contributions that you're making. Those limits vary depending on whether you can vote for the individual in your state or municipality. There's no limits on federal contributions, but you do have to pay special attention to what that person is, what their current role might be. So that's something that's come up more recently. Somebody that's running for a federal office that may not, the contribution limits may not apply, but if their current role is that of a mayor or governor, something like that, then those limits still apply to their current position. We've gotten a lot of questions about contributions to political action campaigns or political action committees, and whether limits apply in those cases. And generally they don't. If you're contributing to a PAC that is not giving those donations to a specific candidate, there are no limits to that. You still have to log those. You still have to disclose the contribution, but the limits don't apply in those situations. And then the other common question that we're getting is regarding family members. So if you have family members that are making contributions in a specific election or a specific candidate, the limits don't apply to them, with the caveat that if they're making those contributions out of a joint account or some type of an account that an advisor has the ability to control, then you do have to disclose that and the limits would apply. So, again, husband and wife have a joint account, any contributions from there, if one of them is a registered person, needs to be disclosed and the limits would apply there. So if you have any other specific questions on, the pay-to-play rules and contribution limits, things like that, feel free to reach out to us, or you can refer back to that compliance alert. It has some good FAQs in there as well. Another recent item that's come up is trusted contact. Of course, this rule went into place in February of 2018. Where any new accounts, you need to have a trusted contact, or at least give the client the ability to have a trusted contact. If they elect not to list a trusted contact, you need to document the reason why. That's the rule that went into place there. That was for any new accounts starting in February 2018. We're still encouraging advisors as they're going through doing their annual reviews, meeting with clients here, beginning of the year or whenever your scheduled meeting frequency is, to discuss with those clients that have existing accounts and that trusted contact option, and have those added when possible, just to have that on file there. You can do that either through Click, or you can also use an account update form. There's no client signature or anything required in those situations, but you know, we would encourage everybody to get trusted contacts for accounts that you don't already have on file there. Another thing that we're reminding is coming in around right now is registration renewal invoices. So those were posted in Click yesterday, I believe. So you can go out there, review all of the different, you know, all the registration fees and things, all the renewals that are coming up. That should be in the Click dashboard there. The deadline for making any changes to that is December 19th. So you have 30 days to go in and do that, and then that gets locked down. Any terminations or anything like that become effective the end of the year. So make sure you go in there, do you know, check your renewals and make any changes that you need to from licensing requirements, things like that. We're talking about licensing requirements. One thing that has come up as we're talking through the Reg BI and some of the changes that are coming up through the different regulatory bodies and the reviews that we're doing in that vein is the use of the term advisor and what that is going to entail going forward. So when this rule goes into effect in June of 2020, you will only be able to refer to yourself as an advisor if you are an IAR of an RIA. So they do have some controls built into the language of the rule, where if you are, you know, if you're only a commissionable, you only register with the broker-dealer, you don't have an RIA affiliation, you cannot use that term advisor. In most states, that does require either the Series 65 or 66 to be registered with an RIA. Some states have those waivers in place if you have a certain designation or something like that, or sometimes there's experience waivers you can get to. Really the requirement is you have to be registered with an RIA. So you have to be an IAR to be able to use the term advisor. They go a step further, which I'm not sure exactly. We'll see how this is actually enforced when it comes out, but you can only use that term advisor. Not only do you have to be registered with an RIA, but you can only use it in conjunction with doing advisory business. So this is going to apply to advisors that are duly registered. You're both a registered rep of Cambridge, the broker-dealer. You're also an IAR. You can only use that term advisor when you're doing advisory business. So if you're working with somebody on a commissionable basis, you shouldn't, in your, you know, whether it's marketing materials or things like that, you shouldn't be referring to the term advisor. So I think that part of the rule is going to be slightly harder for them to police, and we'll see what specific action steps they take when it comes to that stuff. But something to be cognizant of as this rule goes into place. There's also pieces of that rule that refer to administrative persons that they might be appropriately licensed and registered with the RIA, but they're not in an active role. They're administrative support. They cannot refer to themselves as advisors or market themselves as doing advisory business. So in some cases, we've had instances where they refer to them as junior advisors in the office. If they're not actively registered, if they're only administrative, then they cannot be referred to as advisors either. I think that there's a notice that specifically talked about that stuff. Came out last week in the home office notices. So if you want more information on that, you can go out, search that Communications with Cambridge tab, and there's a specific communication from the home office that talks about, you know, Reg BI and licensing requirements that are going to come out of that. The last point that I had to cover here this morning was talking about the share class conversion project. So I know we talked about that at a high level when I was in Pennsylvania for your conference. We are nearing the end of that project as it relates to NFS and Pershing accounts. So our product services and due diligence team has gone through all the different fund families. We've identified the share classes of each fund that will be our universal share class, or referred to as our share class of choice. We've gone through and placed restrictions on any of the other share classes so that you can't inadvertently purchase the other share classes. And we've been doing conversions in accounts that were holding share classes other than what we've selected. So I believe all of the advisor-directed or CMAP accounts that are at NFS and Pershing, we've gone through all those conversion processes. They're working through CAP accounts right now. And we still had, I think we had 3 strategists that had models that were not using the share class we selected. So there was a notice that went out specifically to CAP users last week to talk about that process. And then we will be doing the team-directed accounts probably the first or second week of December. So, you know, Sebastian and Mark, I'll be reaching out to you guys specifically, along with the other program sponsors and the people that are administering the team-directed programs at the different enterprise groups to talk about that, and we'll address those as they come up as well. So at this point, do you guys? So I guess one other. This is what we've done so far is NFS and Pershing accounts, which is the vast majority of what we have on that. We do have some managed accounts that are at different custodians under our FlexMap program. So those accounts that are custodied at Schwab, TD Ameritrade, things like that. We're going to start working with those custodians as well. That's a phase 2 of this project, and we'll be going down the path of placing restrictions and conversions in those type of accounts when necessary as well. We don't have necessarily all the action steps laid out for that, but that's something that will come here in probably the end of December or first part of the year. We'll do that. So at this time, I'll go ahead and open it up to questions. You guys have any questions over? I know I talked through some of that pretty quickly, but do you guys have any questions over some of the stuff I covered?
Andrew, it's Steve Hoffman. I do have a question.
Okay, go right ahead, Steve.
Getting back to next June with the use of the word advisor, I'm a certified financial planner. How would that weigh in?
So you would still, so you're obviously with the RIA though as well, and you're doing your financial planning business, I'm assuming through CIRA, through the RIA. So
yes.
As long as you're meeting those, so a lot of the stuff that came out from the CFP board on their new rules that they're going to be enforcing, a lot of that's going to be more affecting individuals that were carrying the CFP marks but were not registered with an RIA. So people that were doing insurance business or commissionable business. They're going to have disclosure requirements very similar to if they were registered with an RIA. If you're doing financial planning and you have the CFP, you're doing financial planning, you're doing it under the RIA, you already have all those disclosure requirements, you know, ADV, and we have the agreement in place that has all the necessary language. So you're going to be covered under the new CFP board requirements. As long as you're doing it under the RIA with our engagement and everything, you're going to be good there. The new CFP board rules is really going to have more of an effect on those individuals that are, like I said, are not affiliated with an RIA or are doing business with those clients on a commissionable basis, and where they don't have the disclosure requirements and everything. We're going to have to help them create those disclosures. That's why we really push the CFP board to not put the rule in place until to align it with Reg BI, because some of the stuff we're working on for Reg BI is going to hit some of those marks as well. So I guess their compromise was, well, we're still going to put the rule in place, but we're not going to enforce it until next year. So that's we're still working through some of those issues as it pertains to registered rep individuals that are carrying the CFP and what their requirements are going to be. But for you doing it through CIRA, you're going to be fine.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions? I know that in some of the annual compliance meeting statements I made when I was out there, we talked, there's a lot of different segments of whether it's the new Reg BI, whether it's some of our new policies and procedures we're going to be putting in place. A lot of it's going to revolve around documentation. So there's a lot of things where the regulator is going to be looking for documentation that shows your rationale when you made certain decisions. you know, deciding between different products, deciding between commissionable versus fee-based, those type of things. They're gonna want to see documentation. So you'll be hearing us, you know, it'll be repetitive. You'll feel like we're harping on it, but you know, having a standardized process for the way that you capture your client notes and how you made decisions and things like that in a way that is easy for you to you know, store those things and share them with either a regulator if they're in your office or with the home office if we're asking for them. That's going to be key to making, you know, your lives easier from a compliance standpoint. I know that with the Click Advisor just rolled out, in that system, they have the different client vaults and the document vaults that you can utilize. So we'll be publishing some best practices and things like that as we go down this path, and that system gets more adoption, to help advisors understand, you know, what tools they have at their disposal to capture that information and to, you know, document things as required. And we're learning more as we go through our different regulatory exams. So we had a FINRA exam just a few months ago. We're in the midst of an SEC exam right now, and they're visiting a few of our branch offices as that part gets completed. And we're, based on the information they're asking from us and asking from our advisors in the branch offices, that's what's going to help build out some of our best practices and things that we're going to recommend that you document. So you'll be hearing more from us in the next few months on that as we build out best practices. But be thinking about some of those decisions that you make, and you know, we know that you're doing things the right way as far as, you know, thinking through all the different you know, possibilities and when you're making recommendations, but having that stuff documented on paper in a way that, or in an electronic format in a way that you can share with a regulator or the home office is going to be key. All right. Well, if there's no other questions, I'll turn it back over to you, Sebastian. Again, you know, anyone that has questions going forward, feel free to reach out to the advisory compliance team here in Fiduciary Services in the home office, or route those questions through, you know, Bob and Tracy and Sebastian, and they know the right people to get a hold of here to get the answers you guys need.
Yeah, thanks, Andrew. Let me just echo that. If anything comes up, start with us first. We may be able to answer the question. If not, like Andrew said, we'll get you to the right person at the home office. But yeah, if nobody else has any questions, thanks a lot, Andrew, for presenting today.
Thank you.
Yep, no problem. Have a good week.
Thanks.